Hello, you all who may not know me yet. My name is Nick. Now you can see my face. Hello, everyone. So here is something that I'll be doing today. Is I'll be talking to you all about how to effectively answer criticisms when you are affirmative, since that seems to be a chronic problem that we're facing, especially from teams like von Steuben that read the capitalism critique over and over and over and over, and it's a very beatable argument, and I'm going to give you some tips about how you can do that. Any Joe Schmo can do it, and I know that you all are very bright students, so I'm positive that you will be able to do it as well. So, there are two strategies, and it depends on what your affirmative is, how you will actually answer the criticism. So, one of these strategies is what I like to call the George Bush strategy. We're going to get those terrorists. They hate our freedom. You know, you are far, far right. You're on the right wing of things. So you're doing the following things, and I'll show you the two strategies, but right now I'm going to show you some of my notes that I've taken on the George Bush strategy. So here you go. So George Bush disagrees fundamentally on the issue. If you say capitalism is bad, he says, nuh-uh, capitalism is good. If you say hegemony is bad, he says, nuh-uh, hegemony is good. If you say cowboys are bad, he says, yeehaw, cowboys are good. Right? So you disagree fundamentally on the issue. So here's your strategy. What you want to do is you want to have framework. Basically, you need to be able to defend your affirmative. You need to be able to have your affirmative as an option. You want impact terms. That basically means whatever their impact is, you're going to say the opposite. If they say capitalism fixes the environment, you're going to say, if they say capitalism hurts the environment, you say no, it's good for the environment. If they're saying capitalism is bad for poverty, you say nope, it's actually fixing poverty. If they say capitalism makes you ticklish, you say no, it doesn't. Right? You're just saying the exact opposite. It's kind of like the little brother strategy. It's like, when your little brother or sister says, "You're dumb," you're dumb, right? So it's the silly reversal thing. So you want to be reading impact terms. You also want to be reading case outweighs, right? You want to tell the judge that your case impacts happen way before any of their capitalism impacts, and those will cause extinction. So we really need to do those things first. You want DAs to the alternative, right? Movements away from capitalism historically have caused awful things, right? We want to be changing the conversation from their sort of socialist utopia. We want to be bringing the conversation to, let's talk about how good socialism is. Yes, I would love to live in the following places: China in the 1950s. I hear that was a great time. Millions of people did not just die. I would love to live in Russia, the USSR. I hear that wasn't an awful, awful experiment where people died in gulags. The Nazis, the National Socialist Party, right? That has the word socialist in it. I don't think I would like to live in the Nazi regime. Let's talk about Pol Pot. Let's talk about Khmer Rouge, right? These are multiple socialist experiments that caused the death of millions of people in just awful, atrocious conditions, not to mention starving to death. It's awful, just awful. So you want to reframe the discussion like that. You want to reframe the ACE to the alternative. Now I've sent you all a block to this, so you'll have this, and you can have this as a reference point. But that's what the George Bush strategy is. The George Bush strategy says the total opposite. You're thinking here Fox News, you're thinking like Cato Institute, you're thinking American Enterprise Institute. You're just very, very far right. You're saying absolutely not. Right? And so that's the kind of strategy you want to do. That being said, in the block that I've given you, you may be wondering, well, Nick, why did you put no links and perms? Well, that's because critique teams are stupid. They're dumb. I can almost guarantee you that if you say, no link, we don't link to your capitalism critique, blah, you're going to spend about 8 seconds saying that. And they're going to spend about a minute and a half reading their entire link story. And then in the 1AR, you can say, yeah, that's fine, we do link to capitalism. Capitalism is good. That's been the thesis of what we've been saying the entire time, and you just wasted a bunch of time trying to generate your link because you think you're so great, right? Same thing with the permutation, right? We were never going to seriously go for the permutation, ever, in a million years, right? Unless they drop it completely, unless they just miss it entirely. Then you go all in on the permutation. And you really explain how those things can work together, and you combine the strategy that you're talking about. That being said, though, you need to link to capitalism in order for you to say capitalism good, right? Does that make sense? So you need that. That's required for you to be able to win that debate. So that's fine. If they want to read their 7 link stories and prove how you link a million times over and waste all their freaking time while you're spending all your time on the impact terms so you can wax them on that, that's fine. Let them be stupid. Same thing with permutation. They're going to make like 8 arguments against permutation in 1AR. Don't go for it at all. Don't go for the no link. Don't go for the permutation. Just say, fine, you're right. We can't do these two things together. You're right. We do link. However, you are a stinky hippie, and I'm going to explain to you why capitalism is the best thing since sliced bread. Shut up, right? So that's basically the strategy, George Bush strategy. Now the second strategy is, I'll let you take a guess. My fellow Americans, I do believe that this nation has reached an impasse. ISIS has become an incredible problem. So has the leftist movements of the negative team. Just so you all know, that's my Obama impression. See if you like it. I don't know. It's a tough crowd, right? Hopefully you're on someone on the interwebs just cracking up. You're dying. I knew it. So the Barack Obama strategy. Hold up my notes on this one. So the Barack Obama strategy is basically you disagree on the method of solving the problem, right? You don't disagree that capitalism is a bad thing. You think, yes, capitalism is an unequal system. It's not good for the world, but you disagree on the method or the way in which the alternative tries to do it. So here you're saying, think about it this way, it's like we're both trying to get to the same place, but you disagree on the way in which they try to do it. So think about it this way, like it's like saying, how we both agree we should go to McDonald's and get a cheeseburger, right? But the negative says, how we should go to McDonald's and get the cheeseburger is walking, and you're saying we should drive a car, right? So we're both trying to get to the same place. However, you're disagreeing on the fundamental method and the way in which you're trying to do it. So here's your overall strategy. Again, framework. You need to have framework. You need to be able to weigh your app. You need to be able to leverage your affirmative against them, right? You can't lose your app. Where this mainly differs is link terms, right? You're not saying that capitalism is good. You're saying it's bad, and we take a step away. We take even an incremental step away from capitalism, and that's the way in which you can distinguish your argument. So it's not whether or not the affirmative is somewhat capitalist, right? You need to be reframing the discussion as which is more capitalist, the status quo or the plan. As long as the plan is this much better than the status quo, then you're doing good. You're doing gravy. You know what I mean? And so what you really want to be comparing constantly is how capitalist the status quo is and how much the plan, even just incrementally, takes a step away. And you should be reading multiple ones of these. There should be multiple ways in which you take steps away from capitalism. The other strategy is case outweighs, right? Just like I said before, your first question that you should always ask when you do a critique debate in cross-examination is obviously status of the criticism. But the second question you should always ask is, could we do our plan in the world of the alternative? This is a great question, so I'll just say it again. Can we do the plan in the world of the alternative? This is a great question to ask because you get two options, right? Either they say, yes, of course you can do the plan in the world of alternative, which is great, right? If they're going to say that, that happens maybe 1 out of 10 times, right? They're basically saying, yeah, you can do our plan in the world alternative. That means they're basically saying you can perm them, right? Which is definitely a reason why it's not mutually exclusive. Permutation would work. You can solve the critique and the plan, whatever, right? That's a pretty damning concession for the 2NC to make, or the 1NC to make. The other option is to say no, which 9 out of 10 times is what they're going to say. That means, however, that the case is a DA, right? They can't do the criticism in the world of the plan, or they can't do we can't do our plan in the world of their criticism, which means if the judge votes neg, then the plan does not happen, which means that all of the case stuff that you just spent the first 8 minutes reading is a disadd to the alternative. These impacts happen soon, right? And you want to be leveraging, these impacts are happening soon. They're 100% probable, right? Especially with scientific impacts like global warming, right? You can say, yeah, down the road, it might be good to try and stop capitalism. However, in the short term, we need to do something right now about, an upcoming war, about oil price spikes, about food shortages, right? These sort of arguments can't be resolved by sort of moral criticisms in the short term, which means that you get these sort of short-term impacts that cause extinction. I don't know about you all, but I would like to live for the next few years, and then maybe in the future we can stop capitalism. However, in the short term, your app causes extinction. Absent good case defense that the other team might read. So that's a very persuasive, strong argument to make. It's just like, look, in the short run, we will all die if we don't do the plan. So that's a necessary part. So that's case of the disadd. You want to be doing that on your Bush strategy and your Obama strategy. You want to definitely be leveraging your perms, right? In this world, you actually are using permutations. These are legitimately being used. These are basically saying, look, the government and your leftist movement can collaborate together to try to make the world a more safe place, generally reduced capitalism. So you really want to be leveraging that, right? DAC alternative. You can read the same ones that you read in your Bush strategy, right? Socialist revolutions cause violence and hurt people. They're not going to work. When we leave the government, you know, if the left leaves the government, if Democrats decide they don't want to be part of the government anymore, then the only people who are left are crazy Republicans, right? That's bad for those types of movements. And you want to be making inevitability claims, right? Capitalism is inevitable in the short run, or at least capitalism is inevitable when smaller movements try to overcome that. So only reform, only working through the government will be able to work. And that's the distinction that you're trying to make here, is that, look, you know, we agree with you on the overall thesis, capitalism is bad. However, we need to work through government institutions to make it go away better in terms of collaboration. So that's the general thing. One last word on this sort of subject is that make sure that you never ever double turn yourself. And what I mean by that is you can't read capitalism is good and we step away from capitalism, right? You can't link turn and impact turn. So the same rules on a disadvantage apply here. I'm going to keep this one short and sweet, and we'll just keep it as it is. Right now, if you have any questions, right now you see my face, you see I'm a very friendly guy. I'm interested in hearing your opinions and thoughts, so please tell me if you want more elaborate notes or you're a little confused. It's very understandable. This is going to be a 12-minute video, so on something that's very complex. But I've given you all a lot of the tools that you need in order to win. And I can almost guarantee you that you will be able to beat up on some of these teams that think they're hot stuff at the CapK with some of those blocks that I've given you. So I'm going to sign out now. Thank you very much for your time and watching. And like I said before, if you have any particular questions, then please just direct them towards me. All right, bye-bye.